All right, let's do it. Let's get into the receivers.
Wide receivers.
Yeah.
And I do have Larry Fitzgerald on my all-decade team.
Has to be.
Because he was first in receptions, most receptions of any receiver, wide receiver, with 847. But he is third on my list because number one, I do have Antonio Brown, who had 75 receiving touchdowns, more than anyone else. He was second in yards. I have Julio Jones, too. He had the most yards of any wide receiver this decade, most yards per game. Fitz was 3. I put Kelvin Johnson 4. Maybe that's my Detroit Lion bias kicking in there.
Yeah.
But he was 7th in yards, 6th in touchdowns in just 6 seasons this decade.
Right.
So he was 4 of those seasons. 5th, I put Deshaun Jackson.
Ooh, that's the good under the radar one right
Tops
there.
in yards per reception.
Yep.
By over a yard. He had 17.6 yards per reception in the decade. He was 9th total in yards. And then honorable mention, Phil, I did throw Des Bryant in there because he had the second most receiving touchdowns of any receiver. But that's my list. Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Fitz, Kelvin Johnson, and Deshaun Jackson, 1 through 5.
Yep. Well, I can't argue too much with that list. It's good. It's I mean, I
think
Antonio Brown is definitely one.
You do? You put Antonio definitely one over Julio?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes. You know why? I wouldn't have done this when I first saw him the first couple years when he was starting to become a star. I thought, these numbers are inflated. He was the screen king of the world. And then as the more I watched him, he was an unbelievable route runner.
Right.
And Tom Brady. Tom Brady's on the screen now. I said it. But Ben Roethlisberger would drop back, and it was clearly double coverage on Antonio Brown. He stared at him the whole time and threw it to him. And Antonio beat them both, and he would catch the ball almost every time I saw it. And I just go, wow, because he would weave and cut so fast and hard that, they just couldn't figure out what he was doing. So I changed my mind over time with Antonio Brown. Is the more I watched him, the more I admired or gave him credit for what he was doing.
Yeah, I think I would go Julio first, then AB second. I would. I think I would go, actually, the chalk, though, from there on out. I would go Fitz 3, Calvin 4, D-Jax. I do. I was.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson was right on my list.
Yeah.
As you told me this, I had him there. Calvin Johnson, very unique guy. Boy, we did all those Thanksgiving Day games and a few other ones. Always got to talk to him. And the subject was always what, Christopher? How are your legs?
Yeah, how to taking care of his knees and
man,
things like
his legs.
Right.
Just he was almost too big for the position. He was too big for the position.
Right.
It's not that he was tall. He's
just a huge
big.
man. Right.
I mean, he really truly could have probably played tight end if he wanted to, and put on a few pounds. Of course, who would want to do that if you could be a wide receiver? But I was always struck by his size when we saw him, and we always would have a 10, 15-minute discussion on how to take care of the body, and it was great. He knew many years before he retired that it was a problem for him.
Right.
And he was working on it, and I'm sure they took care of him at practice and all that. Of course, he played on turf, which, just speeds the process up. But what a great player. And, Deshaun Jackson, his style, Antonio Brown, great route runner, quick, great hands. And Calvin Johnson had great hands, speed, but his size was unparalleled.
Yeah.
I mean, Julio Jones is a giant by NFL standards, and Calvin Johnson's much bigger than he is.
Yeah.
There were a couple other names here that surprised me. One of the names that was up at the top of the list, 4th in receptions this decade, it probably shouldn't surprise me, but Demaryius Thomas is up there.
I had him on there.
He killed it those early years with the Broncos and Peyton Manning and them, right? I know. How about no A.J. Green?
A.J. Green was 8th in receptions.
Odell? Where's Odell at in this conversation?
No, nowhere.
Nowhere.
He deserves an honorable mention.
Well, he's only been in the league 6 years, and he's had, what?
Yeah.
2 or 3 good years and 3 nothing.
Yeah, his first 3 years were phenomenal, and then it's fallen off. I mean, I do think, Brandon Marshall's a guy that probably is in the conversation for the first 5 years of the decade.
Yeah?
Yes. I know this because we talk about it sometimes Brandon went, and I think, and maybe over 7,000 yards through a short period of time, 50-some touchdowns. I remember we were talking about 4 weeks ago.
Right.
You just kind of forget. He had, 1 or 2 unbelievable years with the Bears, And I think he put up good numbers one year with the Dolphins.
Yeah, he did.
So, and of course, he had a pretty dang good career out with the Denver Broncos too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Did you mention A.J. Green?
I did, yeah.
And then DeAndre Hopkins is
Yeah,
up there.
D-Hop has got to be there too. Yeah, they're all in that combo.
DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas, they're just two guys that fall in between,
right.
The number of years. But, these numbers they put up are just beyond the.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.